So one of the more major challenges on a GX is rust. It's a Toyota problem. I've seen frames replaced on a Sequoia, 4Runners, Tacomas. Not really sure why. I couldn't give you a good reason. But one of the biggest things you got to take care of and make sure that your GX or 4Runner, FJ, I'm actually pending buying an FJ right now. I'm the high bidder, but that doesn't mean that I'm actually going to get it because they still have to accept my offer on an FJ that I got to do a lot of rust maintenance on. So how do you not have to do that rust maintenance? Or if you get one that maybe has a little bit of a rust issue, how are you going to take care of it? So today we're going to look at sanding down those trouble areas, what those trouble areas are, and how to cover it over with a quality protectant top coat to where that you don't have to deal with that, you know, in the future, or at least you need to maintain it in the future. Now, for my northern friends, y'all are gonna need to do a lot more maintenance than us in the south. In the south, we can hit it once and it's done. You may need to do it again years later. In the north, I know y'all do a lot more as far as coating them every winter to make sure that that salt doesn't just do the devastating damage that it does to these frames. So anyway, let's look at these trouble areas. Let's work on them, and let's get Maverick up to New York. That won't be in this video, but it is happening soon. So stay tuned. So the bumper is off of Maverick, but one of the trouble areas that you're gonna see on a GX is your frame support. So you can see somebody messed with this one, just kind of sprayed some spray paint on it. You know, this one's not bad. A lot of times there'll be holes all in this frame support now, or radiator support. This isn't part of your actual structural frame. Yes, this is a recovery point. Yes, you can tow by it or pull it by that. But as far as something that would scare me off of buying one, that's not a major area. One of the areas that's going to give you trouble if you buy one of these and go to maintain it, is in putting a lift, wheels, tires, anything like that, is all of this. So you see I've already sanded down a good bit of the heavier, little bits of rust in this area. Still got to do a lot of cleanup, but hit your spindle. All of this top area where the brake lines come in right here, you get a 12mm bolt right there. Really heavy on the rust a lot of times here. And then sometimes in this spot where the top of your strut's gonna go. And I still gotta clean this up the rest of the way before I put anything on it. But some of the other trouble spots would obviously be the rest of your frame. But as you can see on this one, we're looking really good. And then as we get to the back, right there, from there back, you can see I've already done the rust maintenance back there. I have to hit this side of the rear chunk, and then I've got to just coat the frame. Very little rust maintenance. But when you look at this, these seams, this is where it was welded. They're gonna rust, okay? One reason, I worked on pipeline, so those seams, they're more porous, okay? Well, how do I put it? They're rougher, so it's not as easy for the paint to hold on. So those beads where it was welded, a lot of times the water is going to get behind that, or the paint's going to chip. Whatever coating they had on here originally is going to chip, and it's going to come off. So that's a problem. So these seams are a lot of times your major issues. So get under them, look and make sure that those seams aren't so heavily rusted. You can see right there, there's none. Absolutely zero rust right there. But make sure that your frame's not so heavily rusted that you've got holes in it. I've seen that. I mean, and that's something you don't want. It will be deemed undrivable at that point. So you do not want to have to deal with that much rust. So your cross members, some of them are going to be a little heavier on the rust, but those can be an issue. But most of the time, they're not going to be so much of an issue that you can't deal with it. Trying to think. Dealing with the rear, getting the airbags out and everything is usually not an issue with rust. Up around your tow hitch can be heavy and make it hard to get it out. Rust can play havoc on your exhaust, so you could have holes in your muffler or your resonators, or even in the catalytic converters up front. But anyway, the actual exhaust pipes themselves, they're going to be rusty. That's just part of it. They're going to be covered over the rust. But things that I do to take care of these: get wire brush, get sanding blocks, which are just I set one down, I don't know where I put it, but just the sanding blocks that you would use. They're about 120 grit to 400 grit, depending on how fine and how much of an area you need to get into. I think mine are 200. But the other thing, wire brush on a drill. If you have access to it, you can sandblast. You can really get the rust out of there. But take those wire brushes, knock off the major coats of rust, get that gone. And once you get it gone, you need to put something over it. What I use and what a lot of people use, it's a PR15 top coat, POR15. I don't know how you say it, but you don't have to have a primer, you don't have to have an undercoating. This is it. You spray it with this. Put 2 or 3 coats. That is a rotted peach, that is nasty. 2 or 3 coats. I think you gotta have about an hour between each coat when you're using this, but a very, very solid product. It comes in, you can get it in more than one color, but chassis black is what we use just because we want it to match the rest of it. If you don't, you know, if you're just hitting certain areas, you don't want it to look too weird. So anyway, 2, 3 coats at the most is typically going to be a good undercoating. And any of my northern friends, if y'all want to chime in the comments below on what y'all do to where that you have that extra protection every winter, feel free, and that would actually be very helpful, because down here we don't have to have that. So, but since this one is going up north, I'm knocking out any bit of rust I can find on the frame, covering in the top coat, and then we're gonna get it gone. So I'm done with the driver's side. I just got the upper control arm in on this side. I'm cleaning up the rest of this, putting the top coat on, throwing the strut in, and locking everything in place. And then the lift on Maverick will be finished, and then it's just the extra stuff at that point. So hope you guys enjoyed, hope you learned something. If I need to learn something, maybe I'm not an expert on undercoating because I'm in the South, and I'm not. I'll tell you what, let me show you just how little bit of rust we get. This sits out in the weather. This is the chassis to my 64 Chevy that sits in the shop there. If this was in another state, do you think it would look this good? 64. Thing's almost 60 years old, and the frame looks like that. And it's an open channel frame, so they could have got all the rest in there. So, one of the good things in the South, they may be hot in the summertime, you may sweat to death, but the frames look good. And I've got my little camera lady while I throw on these this top coat. Say hey. Sticker tattoos. Show off your tattoos. Let's see. Let's see that tattoo. What a cool tattoo. All right, here. Hold it. And
someone's gonna change. Someone's gonna change.
see what we got here. So we take those trouble areas and we paint them down. We're going to cover them. That'll sit for about an hour, and then I'll be able to hit the rest. I'm going to do the bottom side later. I just want you to see the process. So, like I said, hopefully that helps somebody. If it does, like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff.